What's up? I'm back. Finally finished my offensive line rankings for the 2025 NFL Draft. This is one of the strangest offensive line classes I've ever studied. That's why I didn't differentiate between tackles and guards, because scouts and GMs are going to question where a lot of these prospects end up playing in the NFL. It's common throughout league history that oftentimes college tackles get moved inside to guard. Lots of college tackles had shorter arms and ended up moving inside to play guard once they got to the NFL. Guys like Zach Martin, Joe Tooney, and even Peter Skoronsky were all dominant left tackles in college, but due to arm length, they moved inside once they got to the NFL. This is a trend that goes back throughout NFL history, and it will continue going forward. This year has a lot of borderline type prospects. They could stick at tackle or they could move inside to guard. It'll mostly be determined by what team drafts them. But without further ado, let's get right into the rankings. I'll quickly cover numbers 15 through 11 and then get into the top 10. There are a few intriguing prospects that just missed the list. Boston College's Ozzie Trapilo and Rutgers Holland Pierce are two tackle prospects that I really like later in the draft. And then two other guys I have to mention here are Georgia's Dylan Fairchild and LSU's Emory Jones. I project both of them to be starters in the NFL. And then at number 15, I have Charles Grant from William and Mary. He's an intriguing prospect with a ton of upside. He spent his college career facing FCS level competition, and he also has limited experience, but he plays with a mean streak and has a wrestling background. I love his potential, but this is a guy who needs some development. At number 14 is Anthony Belton out of North Carolina State, a guy who looked awesome at the Senior Bowl. Initially, I thought he'd have to move inside to guard, but he looks like he can stick at tackle. Number 13 is Marcus Bowe from Purdue, another player with elite athleticism and foot speed. He needs to add bulk in the NFL, and most likely he is going to have to move inside to guard. And then it's Minnesota left tackle Ariante Ursary coming in at number 12. He has the length and size to stay at tackle, but he's high waisted and he isn't a natural bender. This is a guy with intriguing upside who might struggle early on in the NFL, but has all of the traits to succeed as long as he gets put in the right system. Same for my number 11 prospect, Wyatt Milam out of West Virginia. This is a guy who flashed first round upside. He played left tackle in college and he never allowed a single sack. However, he's another guy moving inside to guard in the NFL due to his short arms. Milam might take some time to adjust to the next level, as his transition to guard got off to a rocky start at the Senior Bowl. His transition inside was not smooth, and he struggled with the power of interior rushers all week long. Milam has the tool set to succeed, but he needs to bulk up, get stronger, and learn the intricacies of the guard position. In time, he should be a really good starting guard. At number 10 is Tate Ratledge out of Georgia, a guy with the mustache and mullet that is sure to win fans over. He has incredible power and anchor with huge upside as both a pass protector and run blocker. He is limited athletically, but he has solid footwork and he plays with very sound technique. He only allowed 2 sacks in over 2,000 career snaps. He's a stud guard prospect that dealt with an ankle injury in 2024. He had a badly sprained ankle that ended up requiring tightrope surgery. He would return later in the season and play through pain. If his ankle's 100%, Ratledge should be a plug and play day one starter on the interior of an offensive line. And then at number 9, I have Jonah Savanaia from Arizona. He is a mauler with natural movement skills for his size. He's 6'5", 330 pounds, with the athleticism and length to stick at right tackle in the NFL. But I believe he projects better as a guard at the next level. He struggles with speed to power moves, and his footwork and recovery skills are better suited to play guard. He allowed 8 sacks and over 2,400 snaps at Arizona, coming at both tackle spots, and he played some right guard. At the Senior Bowl, he would handle the transition to guard pretty seamlessly, separating himself from guys like Wyatt Milam who really struggled. So to me, he's a really good prospect, but depending on what position he plays, he will require some patience from the coaching staff and time to develop his potential. I see him as a day two guard or right tackle prospect. At number 8, I have North Dakota State's Gray Zabel, another guy who faced lower competition in college. He's a fun prospect who had a really great week at the Senior Bowl. He would play all over the line at North Dakota State, but he settled in at left tackle. In the NFL, though, he projects as an interior lineman, and he's another guy who handled the transition flawlessly during his week at the Senior Bowl. I do think Zabel is a bit overrated by the draft media. Way too many people have this guy going mid first round. To me, I think he's a top 50 player, but I'd be much more comfortable taking him in round two. Comparing him to my top ranked centers last year, guys like Jackson Powers Johnson and Graham Barton, and Zabel is not quite on that level, but he's still a very good prospect. At number 7, I have Ohio State's Donovan Jackson, a personal favorite of mine. He was the MVP of Ohio State's championship run. He would step up and move to left tackle and hold his own against some of the best pass rushers in the country. He did that after Josh Simmons got hurt, and if it wasn't for him, I doubt Ohio State would have been able to go on that run. He's a day one starter at guard in the NFL who fits more naturally in a power based scheme, but he has all the traits I look for in a guard prospect. He could require some developmental time and might struggle early in his career, but he has all pro upside at guard. It actually wouldn't surprise me if someone took him late round one, but for me, he's a day two favorite, and he's going to help whatever team drafts him. At number 6, I have Josh Connerly Jr., the left tackle out of Oregon, an outstanding prospect. He only allowed 2 sacks and over 2,000 career snaps, almost all coming on the left side. His tape shows an excellent pass protector with all of the traits to be a day one starter at left tackle in the NFL. Initially, I thought he would have to move inside to guard, but he has the size, athleticism, footwork, technique, and length to stick at tackle at the next level. He's not a perfect prospect. At first glance, he looks more like a guard, and he needs to continue improving his anchor in the NFL. And on top of that, while his technique is solid, he needs to improve his hand placement. He also needs to continue getting better as a run blocker and get better against speed rushers. His best fit is in a zone blocking scheme, but overall, he's a well rounded prospect who doesn't have any major holes. But overall, he's a well rounded prospect without any major holes in his game. I think he can stick at tackle, and he should be a late first round pick. And then we get to number 5, Texas's Kelvin Banks Jr. He only allowed 5 career sacks in 2,700 plus career snaps, all coming at left tackle for Texas. But he did have an up and down season in 2024 and missed time with injuries. But this is a guy with natural athleticism, balance, and footwork. His technique is advanced for his age, but he still needs to continue getting better in the NFL. He has all the tools to stick at left tackle and challenge for a job his rookie season. He also has the versatility to move inside and be a dominating guard. I think Banks should be a first round pick, probably somewhere mid to late first. And then at number 4, I have Tyler Booker from Alabama, a plug and play day one starter at left guard in the NFL. This is a guy with incredible power that consistently gets movement off the line of scrimmage. His anchor and pass protection is elite. He has the length to play tackle, but he's going to stay at guard. He only allowed 2 career sacks in college, and this is a guy who plays with a mean streak. He led the entire nation with 93 pancake blocks in 2024. He has arguably the best tape of any lineman in this entire class. The only thing holding him back is his below average athleticism, which does show up on tape at times as he can be slow in space and he also loses his balance more than you like. But overall, I have him as a top 15 player in this draft who could slide a bit due to him strictly being a guard, but he fits power schemes perfectly. At number 3, I have Armand Mimbu out of Missouri. Such a fun prospect to study. He plays with a mean streak, explodes out of his stance, and he has impressive balance and power for his size. He's very agile for a 330-pounder, and he has the length to stick at tackle in the NFL. He only allowed 3 career sacks and over 2,000 plus snaps, but he didn't allow a single sack in 2024 as he took his game to another level. He continued after his solid season by looking dominant at the Reese's Senior Bowl and testing off the charts at the NFL Combine, where he scored a 9.92 on the relative athletic score. To me, I see Mimbu as a guy who could be a dominant right tackle or a guard prospect with Pro Bowl upside. Can he play left tackle? That is a huge question mark, and no one knows the answer to it. He didn't play a single snap at left tackle in Missouri, but he still remains one of the best offensive linemen in this year's class and a surefire first round pick. And then we get to number 2, Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. His stock is one of the hardest to place in this entire draft. If he wouldn't have got hurt, I could have seen him potentially going in the top 5. He has all the tools to be a cornerstone left tackle. Although he doesn't have elite length, he does possess elite flexibility, balance, and footwork. His athleticism and power also look more than adequate for NFL standards. Unfortunately, he didn't test at the NFL Combine. He's still coming back from an injury as his season ended early, and he's now coming back from a devastating knee injury, tearing his patellar tendon. On top of that, he allowed 5 sacks in his 2 years at San Diego State, and most scouts wanted to see a full year at OSU before they really elevated his draft stock. But he would miss the last 2 months of the season and all of the offseason activities, including the NFL Combine. He did do a brief workout recently at the Ohio State Pro Day, showing he's ahead of schedule in his recovery. However, I don't know if it was enough of a showing to really skyrocket his draft stock. It only takes one team to view Josh Simmons as an elite left tackle, but right now his range is all over the place. Some mocks have him going in the top 10, while others have him falling completely out of the first round. For the record, I do believe he's a lock to go in the first round, somewhere between pick 10 and 25, and he looks like a guy who should stay at tackle in the NFL, but could also require some patience from whatever team drafts him. And then we get to my number 1 offensive lineman in the 2025 NFL Draft, Will Campbell out of LSU. He is an awesome prospect with elite athleticism, footwork, balance, and use of leverage. He possesses active and powerful hands, and he has the size of an NFL tackle. His issue is length, and while I believe he has the talent to stick at tackle, it's simply a fact that he would have the shortest wingspan of any starting tackle in the NFL. His mere 77-inch wingspan is far below what NFL teams want in tackle prospects. It also doesn't match up with his height. Most 6'6" tackles usually have 80 plus inch wingspans. Will Campbell unfortunately just has very limited length, but what matters most is that it did show up on tape. He struggled against lengthy edge rushers and long arm moves, and most NFL teams will simply view him as a guard. It really comes down to what team drafts him, but no matter what, they are getting a stud offensive line prospect who only allowed 4 career sacks at LSU. He also protected Jaden Daniels' blind side during LSU's national championship run. Other than his length, he is a nearly perfect O-line prospect who could start at any of the 5 spots. He has high IQ and he should be an impact starter. The only question is at what position? But he has the talent of a top 10 pick. But those are my top 10 offensive linemen for the 2025 NFL Draft. I believe this year it's harder than normal to distinguish which guys will stick at tackle and who's going to move inside to guard. I base my rankings off my own thoughts and hours in the film room watching tape. This year's offensive line class is not a strength in this year's draft. The tackle class, especially, has more questions than they do answers, but teams looking for help on the interior of the O line should have plenty of options. Teams in desperate need for offensive tackles, though, have limited options and might be better off waiting till 2026. I've been hard at work in the film room watching hours of film room to try to finish my rankings for every position in this year's draft. Please do me a favor, hit that like button for me. Let me know in the comments what you think of my rankings and stay tuned for more year round draft coverage.